Lloyd Wagner, United States Navy. Lloyd is a Vietnam-era veteran. I just interviewed him today, actually, in Grand Junction, Colorado, where I live. Been wanting to talk to Lloyd for quite a while, and although he didn't go over to Vietnam, he tells a great story, folks. And you know, I have many stories of people that weren't in combat also. So this is just a great opportunity to learn about what he went through as a young man, just like all the other veterans who went to war, and what he did in the United States. I'm not going to give it away, but he enlisted in the Navy and then was drafted by the Army. Graduated from high school in 1968. I thought that was an interesting situation. He got drafted by the Army and would have gone to Vietnam, but I'll let him explain to you what happened. But Lloyd's a great man, a man of faith, and has gone through a lot in his life. And I was just really honored to be with him today and his wife, Marka, and to share some thoughts with him about life in general and just how he survived cancer. Folks, he's a cancer survivor. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer a couple years ago. He had a huge tumor on his kidney that they removed. He then went to the brain, to the lungs, and he survived all of it, folks. He survived all of it. I'll let him tell his story. If you know anybody that is sick and maybe dying, I think this story will be very interesting and very inspiring for you to listen to. So, like I said, we're going to talk about his military experience. I got that, some great pictures of him. They all look glamorous when they were younger. Lloyd's 73 today, and he's still going strong. In fact, the last time I saw him, which was last year, I didn't think I'd see him again. He was that bad. They really had given up on him, and I think everything said that he was going to die, but he's still here today, folks. And he went back to the doctors recently. No cancer in the brain, on the lungs, kidneys, healed, and that's a blessing. So I invite you to listen to Lloyd's story. It's not real long, but it's powerful, folks. Right here on the Voices of History YouTube station, and we'll be on the Voices of History radio station once it airs here. So I appreciate all of you out there watching and listening, subscribing, and sharing these videos. It means a lot to me, and I know it's going to mean a lot to Lloyd and his family as this word gets out there and circulates. And there's a lot of needy people, a lot of people that have needs out there. I know a lot of you are sick, and I think this video is going to be a blessing. So God bless you. Thank you for watching my videos and subscribing to this channel, like I said, and share this with a loved one. Amen. Tell me how old you are now.
73.
73.
Yep.
What did you enlist in the military? You weren't drafted.
Well, yes and no. Me and a friend joined the Navy together.
Mm-hmm.
We went through the induction center in Denver, in Portland, and he went in the Navy, and I got sent home because I was hit by a car as a sophomore, so they wouldn't take me. I went home. Figured I always wanted to be a chef, so I figured I'm going to go back to Portland and be a chef. So I started school to be a chef, went about a month and a half, and I got drafted into the Army. So I told the recruiter there, I said, and I was told him what happened to me and trying to get into the Navy, and he said, well, there's one just up the road. So I went up there and told him what happened. He says, sign here, and he says, we're leaving Friday. And this was on a Monday. I had to call my sister in Portland to take my car and moved me out of my apartment and everything, so I had to leave. So she did everything for her and her husband. But that was my career, started my Navy career. And it was quick, very quick. And the reason I did that is I had no desire to shoot anybody or get shot at, so I figured Navy or Air Force is my best bet. And talking to the Navy recruiter, he asked me what I wanted to do in the Navy, and I said, the only thing I know how to do is flip burgers. I grew up on a small farm and raising pigs, but I says, I did flip burgers for a while. And he says, well, we'll make a cook out of you. We always need cooks. That sounds fine to me. I want to be a cook anyways. Well, that didn't happen. I went to boot camp, and through boot camp there, all the training and stuff we went through, they asked me what I wanted to do, and I told them the same thing, that I want to be a cook, and they said the same thing. You'll make a good chef. So, okay. Graduated out of boot camp, and they give you a green card, and that said, for an MOSA, it was ADJ, and I said, well, what in the world does ADJ stand for? So I asked my chief there, and he says, well, you're going to jet mechanic school. I said, no, that ain't right, I'm supposed to be a cook. No, it wasn't that at all. So I went to jet mechanic school, and they sent me to Florida after that, and I was aide to an admiral for 6 months there, and that was awesome duty. I was treated just like one of the family. I wasn't, we were all equal. Everybody that worked for Admiral Thomas, we were all equal in there. And that was probably the best duty I ever had in the service, but you only get to do it for 6 months, then you move on. But he said he wanted me to go to helicopter training. And so I went through that. They sent me to California for that. And so I flew on SH-2s and finally ended up on UH-1s, Hueys. It was very rigorous training. And we were basically medics, but only part of the medic we were was putting Band-Aids out to get somebody to a hospital. And I thought for sure I'd end up going to Vietnam. In fact, I had orders a couple times and they changed them, and I stayed in the States. And never went on ship, never left the United States. My duty was mainly in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Florida. And my last duty station was Fallon, Nevada. And that was my most fun base, was Fallon, Nevada, where we ran 9 bombing ranges out there, and we dealt with pilots from all over the country that had to put in so many hours out on the bombing ranges before they would go to Vietnam. And when they would go through their flight training for the day, flight operations, we would go over and pick out 3 or 4 people and say, you guys are with us today, you were shot down, and we're gonna, rescue you. And we'd take them up and drop them off out in the area where we trained for that. And we would use their people, and usually they had helicopters with them, and they would be used to clean an area out of the enemy, because we always had enemies out there too trying to find somebody. So they would dry fire, make it look like the real thing. And then after they cleared the area, then we'd go in and pick up the injured and fly them out. And that was quite interesting. But I never actually did go to Vietnam, and I'm not sorry I didn't go. And I think the only reason I didn't go was because I was the only one left to carry the name on. And I had 2 boys now, and I think we got 6 grandsons or something like that, so the name's going on.
Well, tell me, you said a lot there. Oh my gosh, I'm just like mesmerized with you. Okay. So tell me what year you went into the military. What year was it?
I went in 69.
What year did you graduate from high school?
68.
When you graduated from high school, surely some of your classmates were going to Vietnam.
Yes. Well, we were all getting drafted, so
Okay,
that's why we were joining.
As a 17, 18-year-old young man in a wartime, the turmoil in this country during that time, what was in your head as far as, do you mentally prepare yourself even though you're not in the military, but you might be going? I mean, are you thinking these thoughts, or are you having a normal teenage? Did you go to prom? I mean...
Yeah, we did everything. We went to proms. We all graduated together, and then some of them left right away. Like Don and I, we went up to the Navy recruiter because that was our plan. We were going to take off and go in the Navy as soon as we could. But of course, like I said, that didn't work for me. In fact, they reclassified me 1Y, except in time of war is what it stood for. So they said, you will never get drafted. So that's why I went to school. And even when I went to the induction center, when I did get my draft notice, I told everybody I was around, so I'll be back tomorrow or something, because I never get, we're not under war, so I'm not going to get drafted. Well, I was wrong. I went anyways. But I enjoyed myself. Boot camp was pretty rough. But once you get out of boot camp, it's just like a normal job, everyday job.
Now tell me again, you got drafted by the Army.
Yes.
But you told them that you were going to go in the Navy.
Well, I talked to the induction center, whoever ran that, and I said, well, I tried to get in, a couple months ago in the Navy, and you wouldn't take me because I was hit by a car. And he said, well, they recruiters just to block up the road. So I went up and talked to him, and he just said, well, sign here, you're in the Navy now. I said, okay, and I did.
Because you had an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what would your path have been?
I'd have probably been a chef. I'd have probably
in the Army?
No.
No, if you would have gone in the Army, it would have been a different.
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably been a gunner or something there. I have no clue what they just.
But the only reason you didn't go in the Army is because you got hit by a car?
Yep.
Okay. But I'm saying if you would have gone in the Army, that draft notice, would you have gone to Vietnam?
Yes, probably would have.
Yeah.
They'd have probably sent me over there.
So you mentally were thinking you might have to go.
Yeah.
Tell me about any friends of yours that you know that didn't come back from Vietnam.
We only had one of my high school graduation students. He was playing. He was coming home, but they were throwing a frisbee on the flight ramp out there, and he ran into a wing on a plane and killed himself. He's the only one we lost over there. So we were all very fortunate for as many of us that went over.
So you're a Vietnam era veteran, and you said you're glad you didn't have to go. And some of the stories that I've recorded, Lloyd, are just tremendous. I mean, the people that they've suffered over the years, from their homecoming to the PTSD that they got from everything they saw and experienced, and it's still strong today. I mean, I'm sharing my Vietnam stories with my YouTube audience and my radio station, but so talking to you, even though you didn't go in country, it's still okay. I want to ask you, tell me what you remember about the mood of the country towards Vietnam.
The people in the States did not like us. We had no business being there, and we all agreed with them. There was nothing that Vietnam could offer our country. So why were we there? Nobody really knew, and to this day, nobody really does know. But our government said, you're going, so we didn't argue, we went. And it was tough. It was tough. Yeah.
The anti-war sentiment, the college campuses, the calling our troops baby killers, and did you experience any of that? Even though you didn't go over there, did you hear?
Not so much.
Were you around that at all, or did they do this? Were you ashamed to wear your uniform?
No, I wore that uniform all the time. I don't care what they thought of that uniform. I was going to wear it, and I did, and I wore it proudly. And I never had anybody say anything to me bad about it. I had a lot of, my dad's from Kansas, so we had a lot of relatives there, and I spent a few days in Kansas, and we went to a bar. My uncle and my cousins and I could not buy anything in that bar. It was all paid for by that bar. Patrons in there really appreciated this, but there was a lot of patrons that didn't. So it's sad, and at least with the Vietnam War now, we went to war with Iraq and Iran because of what they did to New York. So at least the boys there got recognition for that. I do admit that, where we didn't, our guys didn't at all. So,
my Vietnam film focuses on the Air Mobile Division, and this fall I'm going to take a ride on a UH-1.
All right.
Now you got to tell me, I've interviewed a lot of pilots, crew chiefs, door gunners, everybody that was on those helicopters. Tell me, I'm fascinated with the helicopter. Tell me a little bit about more your experience that you said they wanted to train you in helicopters. In what capacity?
Well, I was trained as a medic, but like I say, we were just how to put on band-aids and get somebody out of there. Now when in the UH-1 and the other planes they have now, the Black Hawks, they're regular paramedics on there, they're prepared to go into surgery as soon as they land, where we didn't do that. We flew them into a field hospital and they took them from there. That would have been interesting there too, but basically nobody had life flight. Nobody around had life flight then. So if something serious came up, they would call us and we would fly out to the scene and do what we could to get them to a hospital. But as far as training, we had a lot of, I think it was 6 months, if I remember right, training we went through on that, but calisthenics, swimming, because rescue swimming, we had to do that too. Training was crazy what we went through. I just couldn't believe all the training we had to go through to be on that helicopter. And that was fine too, you know. The instructor we had, he was a big guy. I mean, I bet he weighed 300 pounds, and I figured, if he can do this, I can do it too.
Yeah, but were you trained to be a Navy corpsman?
Basically, yes.
So, but were they training you to go to Vietnam or stay in the States?
They were training everybody there to go to Vietnam.
So you had some training in the end result would have been combat, these dust-off medevac helicopters that go in and pick up the wounded. You
Yes.
would have been a part of that?
Yes. We'd either flown you into combat or tried to get you out of combat. That was what our capacity was. And we'd have done it. I'd have done it.
That would have been a tremendous job, and you would have been very vital over there.
Yeah, those Hueys aren't very big, so we could only take a few at a time out. And that's why a lot of the pilots had to make several trips to get everybody out of there. But
What do you know and remember about the Huey helicopter?
noise, that whopping noise that I could hear you coming for miles. And the SH-2s were the old piston pounders, and they weren't too bad, but the Hueys were very noisy. In fact, I lost a good part of my hearing from the jet engine noise, and they were fun. You'll enjoy the trip. You'll enjoy the flight. Now, I was involved in light crashes or rough landings, whatever you want to call them. I did get banged up pretty good on one. But on that one, we were playing the war games in Nevada, and I was going to rescue the guy on the ground. So I was ready, sitting in the doorway with a horse collar on, ready to go down. And I knew we were going to crash just by what was going on. I knew there was something wrong. So I laid on my back and looked in the cockpit, and the pilot was, doing everything he could to try to get control of that thing. And he couldn't do it. And I told the crew chief, who was acting crew chief that day, that we were going to crash to get in his seat. And he managed to get in his seat and get strapped in, and I didn't get a chance to. We crashed. And I got some pretty good cuts and bruises and banged up pretty good on that one. But had I been out going down when that happened, I would have probably been killed. It hurt pretty bad. So I feel fortunate.
How many years were you in the military?
A little over 5 years.
Okay. It was the Navy then?
Yeah.
What was your rank? I mean...
Well, after Vietnam, they froze, everybody's rank was pretty well froze, so because they didn't need the people, they didn't need jet mechanics, they didn't need whatever. So I was an E5, or E4 when I got out, and they wouldn't even give me E5 with their re-enlist. I was going to re-enlist, and they wouldn't offer me anything to re-enlist, so I went in and come home. So
an E4 in the Navy would be like a seaman petty officer. What's the
junior petty officer, the low-ranking petty officer.
So a junior ranking petty officer. Boy, and just to think of what could have been if you would have not been injured and went into the Army.
Yeah,
would have been a whole different story.
We could have been,
yeah. But you said you were the only son, so they maybe wouldn't have taken you anyway.
Yeah. I had all sisters and had an uncle who had one son, but he passed away. And so we were left to carry the name on, and that just left me by myself then to go on from there. And so I did. I did.
So were you aware of the war during the military when you were in the Navy? I mean, did you get reports of what was going on in Vietnam, or was it just mainly your stateside and you didn't have a lot of information?
I heard a lot of it on, what was going on in the news and stuff. Now, Florida, they would bring merchant ships in with planes and helicopters and everything on it just shot like you couldn't believe, just riddled, and they were still able to bring them back for repairs. And but Florida and Mississippi and Tennessee were mainly training bases for pilots and mechanics and stuff. And so I really didn't see a lot of wounded coming back or anything. I didn't see that at all, no.
So now, again, your MOS, you were a Navy?
I was still considered a jet mechanic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they trained you in the medical field. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have that MOS?
No.
Okay. And where did the cooking come in again?
Well, I've always wanted my love cooking.
Oh, you weren't a chef in the military?
No, never was.
That's just a civilian
But
job.
I wanted to be a Navy cook because I figured, well, that'd be a good way to learn how to, make buku meals at one time. You know? But no, I never did. Never did.
Well, as far as Vietnam, is there a lesson learned from Vietnam? What should we remember about Vietnam, the war?
Well, back in the days with the draft, and it may come back again someday where we got to use the draft, and you're there to protect your country and the image of your country. It's going to be tough. It'll be tough no matter what. Whether like Iraq, the people going there, a lot of them coming back they're in bad shape. Both medically and physically in bad shape. And it would be the same again. And I hate to say it, but we just have to live with it.
Is there something we can do to change that negative image of Vietnam?
No, I don't think so. I think, the people nowadays may think differently of it. I don't know. It's really hard to say. Really hard to say.
Because a lot of people still think bad. I get a lot of comments on my YouTube videos, and I'm hoping to share some of this with my YouTube audience, but somebody made a comment along the lines of, where are the people that call the troops baby killers? They said they're the same people today supporting abortion and the killing of the unborn. Do you see the difference? They're saying you guys are baby killers, but what are they doing today? They're supporting baby killing with the abortions.
I don't believe in abortion. Being a Christian, I don't believe in it. But it's safer. That's my real opinion on that.
Well, no, I was just talking about how the irony of the people that were calling troops baby killers are now killing babies.
Yeah,
in the womb by supporting abortion.
Very true.
That is so crazy.
Very true. Yeah. Yep.
Here, take a look at that picture, and then I want you to hold it up to the camera. Okay. Folks, that is Lloyd Wagner back in the 60s. I don't know how old you were there, 19, 20.
I was 19 when I was.
What do you, take a look at that picture. What goes to your head when you see yourself back then?
Those were the good days. Fun days. I had a great time in the Navy. Like I say, I never left the States. It was just, I had a good time. Mm-hmm. I liked flying all the time. I flew almost every day. Actually got to fly the helicopters a couple times. The pilot, you get a chance to fly a co-pilot, so you would, and you actually fly one. I never could fly one straight. I always went at an angle, they said.
You got to fly a Huey?
Yes.
So you flew every day?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So you had a lot of experience with the Huey. Have you been out to Fruita, the Vietnam Memorial in Fruita?
Yes, I have.
You take a look at that Huey?
That's a UH-1 out there, yes.
Hold that picture up to the camera, and then I want you to tell me about that picture. So hold it up.
That's 1968 when I graduated.
Okay, right there, that's good. 1968, and you graduated from high school.
Yes.
What was your favorite subject?
Just get me out of school. So what they do, the Navy sent me to about 2 years of school.
Okay. Okay.
Math was probably my favorite, but I just wouldn't, I don't know, I just didn't care to go to school.
Are you proud that you're a veteran?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What does the American flag mean and represent to you, Lloyd?
That flag is up there for everybody in the United States who has a belief in our country. That's a sign of our country alone. Every country's got their own flag, and ours is the American flag, and I love it. I love it, I love it.
What does freedom mean to you?
Well, look at us today, you know, we got, well, freedom of weapons. We can buy our own guns, we can go out and shoot, we can go hunting, we can do whatever. A lot of countries you can't do that. You can't even basically leave your own place if you wanted to, you know. You're pretty much stuck in one spot. And I don't have anybody telling me what I got to do every day other than go to work. I know I got to go to work. But freedom is being able to do what you want to do yourself without having somebody above you telling you what to do. And I hope we never lose it. I hope we never lose it.
Tell me, though, about how our freedoms have been under attack the last few years. With these forced mandates and the government treating us like, you know, like they're communists and trying to think for us.
Oh, I pray to God we never see communism over here. But you just never know. You never know. But I think we got a lot of freedom left in this country. Sure, we lose some every now and then. But as long as our government keeps fighting for everybody, we'll never lose all of our freedom. And that's all we can really hope for. We don't need to lose our freedom. I don't want anybody telling me when I got to get out of bed, when I got to go to work, when you got to do this, you got to do that. We don't want that. We want to be able to make our own decisions throughout the day. That's tough when you can't do that.
Well, I'm not going to get real political, but personally, I don't acknowledge or even respect our current government. I mean, the people that are supposedly our leaders, I have no respect for the way they're treating the American people.
I agree with you 100%. In fact, I worked with an old fella. He said, the only way we'll ever get a government that works for us, the people, he says, we'd have to go in there and assassinate every one of those and elect new ones. He said, might have to assassinate them too, but he said, you do that a couple times, you're going to have a government that's going to work for you. I agree with everything he said there. I hate to say it, but that's what it would take. That's what it would take.
You know, we could really go a long ways with that, but I want to do something here. Take that. I want you to show that to the camera and tell me about how you got into making crosses. And it's a ministry. Tell me about these wood crosses, how you got into that, and why you're doing that. Well, put it around your neck while you're talking. Go ahead and put it around your neck so we can see it while we're talking. I have several of those. I love those wood crosses. Tell me the story behind that.
I like working with wood. I made a lot of furniture, made these end tables to match that. I've made a lot of furniture. And I was just out in my shop one day looking for something to do, and I found some small pieces, so I started cutting crosses. And I would take them to church and give them to friends. And it just blossomed from there. I started making them, I'd take, at least a dozen, 10 to a dozen every week to church. I still do to this day when I can. And just give them to anybody new coming in, or somebody comes in and says, I lost mine or I gave mine away, can I get it? And I give it to them. This is a sign of Christianity, that you believe in the Christian Bible, Christianity in the Bible. And to me, it's just a blessing to be able to do it. I can't believe how much it's taken off. We had a visiting minister from Oklahoma, and I gave him and his wife one. And he called up our church and wanted my phone number so he could talk to me about making some. And he wanted me to make 50 a month for him. And I did that for 2 years before I had the incident this past year. And I haven't made them for him again, but he knows where I'm at, and he hasn't asked for them. But when I get better, I could still make them, but I'm not quite efficient enough to do it yet. When I get strong enough and ready, I'll start sending him 50 a month again. So they're going all over the country because he travels and he gives them out when he's doing it. And it's I don't know how many. I'd like to know how many I made, but
Hundreds, maybe thousands.
Thousands. I know I've made thousands, but I make, because at that time I was making 100 a month, and that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. And 50 went to him, and I gave the other 50 away. Now my wife and I, Marka, we'll wear them when we're out in public, anywhere. And we've had people come up and talk to us about it, so we just take them off and give them to them, say it's yours.
One blessing.
I make them, so take it.
Kind of show it up into the camera like this, just right there, right there, hold on. Yeah. So how could somebody get one of those if people watching this want a wood cross handmade by Lloyd Wagner? How should I tell them to do that? Just contact me?
Yeah, they can contact you.
If they want one, we can send them one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anybody out there, the wood crosses, they're just awesome. To me, Lloyd, the cross of Jesus is the universal sign of freedom.
Yes, it is.
And our flag represents that freedom. Yep. So anybody who has a problem with the flag, we acknowledge the cross of Jesus, we worship the Lord, but we don't worship the flag. But our flag represents our freedom.
Yes, it does.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen.
You gave me some information here that I've heard from, but let's go back to when you first were starting to not feel good. How long ago was that? Was it a year, 10 years ago? When did you
first? It was probably a couple years now.
Okay.
I didn't know I had a minor stroke, TIA they call them, and my wife insisted I go to the doctor, and so she finally convinced me I should. And that's under VA care, so I went in and saw my doctor there, and of course they want you to do labs before you even come in to see them. They always do. And Dr. Owen, my doctor, she came back in with the results, and she asked me if I'd given blood, just given blood. And I said, no, I haven't given blood since I moved to Colorado. I said, why you ask? And she says, well, you're low on blood. I said, what do you mean I'm low on blood? She says, well, your blood cells your red cells are really down, real low. She said, something's going on, we got to see what's going on. So they ran a bunch of tests and MRI and a CAT scan. I don't remember what all they did. I had a softball sized tumor on my left kidney. And so of course they scheduled me for surgery right away and took the tumor and the kidney out. And I think it was 3 months, they did another CAT scan and MRI, and they found that I had one spot on my tumor on my lung and two on the brain, one and one. So they sent me to the cancer center here in Denver, or in Colorado Springs. I still can't talk. Junction, Grand Junction. I've lived all these places. But anyways, they did radiation on the brain and the lung. And then they put me on Keytruda, the one they advertised heavily on TV. And I was on that for a year, and everything was good. They had one spot where they took the kidney out. They'd been watching that one, and they were watching the lung and the brain too. And then Dr. Swink said that the Keytruda is not working, so they wanted me to go on chemotherapy. I did not want chemotherapy because I've had some friends that went on that, and they only live a few months longer. So I told her no. I said I'm happy with my life. I've had a good life, so we'll just forget that. Well, she convinced me to try it. She says it's a low dose, and it shouldn't affect you. She says if anything, you might have a heart attack, and it did. She gave me that, and then within a week, I had a heart attack. So then I gave up on everything. I told her, that's it, I'm done. We're not going to do any more of this, And so they sent me home from the hospital just to keep me comfortable. They called hospice. I was put on hospice, and I was sitting in this room right here for months. I don't even remember it. And that was in July when that happened, and I really don't remember a lot there. My wife could tell you everything, but I had a bed over here by the window, and that was my domain. I just lived there for months, and I couldn't roll over. My wife said I couldn't roll over. I couldn't cover myself up. Like I said, I don't really remember anything. Then in November, I started getting some of my faculties back, and I told my wife and my hospice nurse Leticia, that I would like to get out of that bed and sit in a chair. Well, they got me out of that bed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hardly talk, let alone walk. And when they changed my bedding and took care of me, I had people coming and going all the time taking care of me. And well, in August, they told my wife, well, she called them because she says that I was having trouble breathing. And so they come out, hospice come right out, and they told her that I was transitioning, that I would pass probably within a day or two. And like I said, I don't even remember that. But in November, when I had them get me out of bed, and I started doing some exercises in bed, and within 2 weeks I was out of that bed, standing up on my own. Couldn't walk yet, but I was standing on my own. Thanksgiving, I finally got out of that bed and got into like a wheelchair, I don't remember what they called, transporter chair, and wheeled myself to the table, and I had Thanksgiving dinner at the table. And it's just getting, every day it's something different, something a little better. I went from the transporter chair to a walker to a cane, and now I don't even use a cane. And I'm back going to church every day, every Sunday. I got my job as an usher back, and it's great. It is great. So, and life can't get any better. I mean, it's getting better for me every day. You know, like I got my legs all wrapped up because I have a swelling, and I just got some fancy boots in the mail today, so that I can do away with these here. But it's just, the good Lord has just done amazing things for me.
Now tell me, okay, I'm sitting here rejoicing, listening to you. I just trying to contain myself, like, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Okay, and so last time I was in this home, you were sitting around waiting to die.
Yep.
You were sitting around, you weren't talking hardly. You were there with us, but I remember talking with Marka. Is this like preparations are on for when it happens? You talk to they were transitioning, and now it's like, it's like the dead's been raised, man.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like Lazarus come forth, and you're here, you're sitting, you're talking to me, and you're like a whole different person right now. And I used to feel bad because I never really got to know you before you got sick. And it's like, oh my gosh, don't tell me. I remember you went to Timothy Gangle's service, and you saluted with the honor guard. And I just saw you in that shot. Maybe I'll show a picture of that when I show this interview. And I thought, I hope you're not next. I hope you're not next, because you're kind of on that path then.
Yeah, I knew then.
Yeah. So, and now you're here. Tell me how important your faith is, and to where you're at today.
Oh, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for faith. I would not be here. The laying of hands and everybody that did that for me at church, and even while I was here in bed, I still had prayers coming in constantly. And I myself too. Now I would wake up at midnight almost every night, and I would pray then. I couldn't talk, but I could pray. And it's just been glorious. It's just been great. I mean, I can't even show them how happy I am of where I'm at. It's getting better every day. I get better. But all the prayers from everybody, it's just amazing what a prayer will do. Pastor John was here. The other pastor,
DJ.
Yeah, DJ, Dominic. And then the one from Oklahoma, he was back again. And
Blaine Bartell.
Yes, he come over. He's the one I made the crosses for. Him and John come over, and they both prayed with me. And I just barely remember that. But it's amazing how fast things have come back since I woke up in November. But I had about 5-6 months there where I didn't even know my name, didn't know anything.
Wow.
You know. And I got my bed partner, my caregiver. She stays with me all the time. Takes good care of me.
And you know, when I would see you those few times when you were sick, I used to say, you don't look like you're gonna die. I just kept saying, he doesn't look like, you know, he's gonna die. And thank God you're not. And I mean, someday we all will, but it's like you're too young and things. And then I found out you'd served our country, and I have so much honor and respect for our veterans. You know, to me, it doesn't matter if they were in combat or not. I tell the story often of a man named Frank Clark. He was 85 years old when I interviewed him in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and he was a clerk typist in the Marine Corps. And I went to interview him like I did you today, and he said, Larry, I don't have anything to tell you. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I was a clerk typist. I said, well, what did you type, Frank? And he says he typed the telegrams back home to the families of the Marines that were killed on Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Powerful story. I always get chills when I tell that. And so anybody who took the oath, served our country, you were ready to go to Vietnam, and you know, God bless you for that. I mean, for your service, and I'm grateful that you had that experience, and I'm just so tickled to see these pictures here too. But your health today, I mean, what a blessing, man. And the prayers will continue for you.
Oh, sure.
You know, and you're a giving man. You're a beautiful man, Lloyd, and I just really thank you for talking to me today.
With the power of God and prayer and the people around us, we can all do this together and come back and stay here. It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
Did you have a strong faith when you were in the military?
No, you know, believe it or not, I was going to school, and I was working in the evenings at a little restaurant cooking, and 3 guys would come in every Wednesday and just to Bible study together. And I told them, and I listened to them, and I talked to them a few times, and I told them I was going in the Navy, that I just got drafted. And he says, when you got to leave? I said, I got to leave at the end of the week. So he come back in, the three of them come back in. They gave me a Bible, a little white Bible, and he said, keep this with you at all times. And I did. Don't know why, but I did. And I didn't really even look at that Bible until, well, my mid-30s, I'm thinking 35, 36. I had 2 gentlemen knock on my door in Portland at home there. And they were from North Baptist Church. And I used to go to a Baptist church when I was a little guy. So I invited them in. Something told me inside to invite them in. And they come in, and we started going, my wife and kids, we started going to North Baptist Church. But you know, I carried that Bible the whole time, and I never looked at it. I had a Bible. I would take that to church, but this little white one, and when I was living out here in Grand Junction, and we were going to another Baptist church before we went to Faith Heights, and I just happened to grab that Bible out and look at it. Well, at one of the pages in there, clear page, you know, where you can take notes, it said to read Romans 10, 9 and 10, and believe. Believe what you read. And I don't know why I looked at it when I did, but I did. And so I carried that all that time, from the time I was cooking in a little restaurant till I was in Grand Junction before I read it.
I'm going to do something at the end of my interviews, Lloyd. This is kind of my signature, my trademark, but a lot of my YouTube viewers love it when the veterans salute. But when I ask you, could you look into the camera and give a salute into the camera?
Oh, sure.
And if you want to say something, you can. You don't have to, but I'm going to turn it a little more. So I'm going to want you to look right in here and go ahead and give me your salute.
Okay.
Amen.